All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rekakwadash. Giving double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the hopefully elect. Shalom to all the brothers out here laboring in this truth with sincerity. Shalom to the few sisters that watch. It's coming back with a quick lesson. I just like to look up the news, see what's going on. And as we see, it just, all this just inspired me just, come up with a quick lesson. Because what you see here is a bunch of confusion, You see a whole bunch of confusion. Netanyahu praised his first meeting with Trump since launching Iran war. Lindsey Graham, saw something about Mitch McConnell. You got Joe Biden popping back up. So you see a whole bunch of faces of Edomites, man. All these are Edomites, Fauci, Edomites. But just a bunch of confusion. And basically what I wanted to go into was, a lot of the times, this is kind of for, new brothers, sisters coming in. A lot of the times you hear brothers saying Babal, and we're just going to go into that, what it actually means and the origins of it, and it really means, destroy confusion, Babal. But, of course, it goes back to the scriptures, man. So we just going to get into that. So let's see, where we want to start. We'll start in the book of Revelation. Because we know America to be Babylon the Great. It's a reason why we call America Babylon the Great. Because this is the great land of confusion, man. As you see, the doom of Babylon, modern day Babylon. And this is Babylon the Great. So let's start in the book of Revelation, chapter 17, and we'll go to verse 3. It says, So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast. This is the woman sitting upon that scarlet-colored beast is America, sitting on the beast, which is NATO and the EU, the revived Roman Empire, and its alliances, NATO, EU. So it says, and it goes scarlet. Scarlet is a derivative of red, which goes back to the Edomites. It's all clear indications of who we're talking about here. So it says, I saw a woman sit upon the scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Yeah, and that go back to NATO and the EU. It says the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness and of her fornication, And this place is full of riches. You go back decked in gold, the beauty of it from the outside, it had people want to come here and live here. Oh, America is so beautiful. Man, it's the land of opportunity, man. There's so much money. They got so much money, looking from the outside. But it says having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. This place is filthy, man. You got all kind of sodomites, all kind of wicked Edomites, wicked Jakes, hey, man, it's just full of wickedness. This place exudes wickedness. It promotes wickedness. This place will tell you that you cannot have more than one wife, but yet and still you could poke a man in his backside, So this is how off it is. But anyway, verse 5, it says, but upon her forehead was the name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And this is America, man. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints, because, hey, from when we came over here, on those slave ships, man, we been getting punished, man. Starting with the tribe of Gad, punished brutally by these Edomites, man. It's so much Israelite blood upon this land that it's ridiculous, man. And it's more to come. It says, and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahushua. And when I saw her, I wondered with a great admiration. So, this is speaking of America, man. Babylon the Great. So, brothers, you often hear brothers say Babal. Death to America, or destruction to confusion, which we know Babylon the Great to be America. America is going to be destroyed by nuclear fire, man. So, let's go. Where we want to go? We'll go to the book of Exodus, chapter 10. Because, the same thing happened to ancient Egypt, man. As far as the confusion, the Lord magnifying himself by way of Egypt, Pharaoh hardened his heart. All these things were brought forth, man. So, we're just going to tie it together. Let's see. So we'll just start from the top. It says, and the Lord said unto Moses, go into Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart and the heart of his servants, that I might show these my signs before him, and that thou mayest tell in the ears of thy son and of thy son's son what things I have wrought in Egypt, and my signs which I have done among them, that ye may know how that I am the Lord Yahweh. So that's the main thing, man. He hardened his heart, hardened Pharaoh's heart to magnify himself, man. His name is going to reign throughout the earth. He going to do the same thing to modern day Egypt. He's going to make a clear example, for generations to come. He says sons, and that they may tell in the ears of thy son and of thy son's sons what things I have wrought in Egypt. And America is not going to be no different. We're going to be sitting around telling our children about America and how it was destroyed. So verse 3, it says, and Moses and Aaron came unto Pharaoh and said unto him, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, power of the Hebrews, how long wilt thou refuse to humble thyself before me? Let my people go, that they may serve me. And hey, we're saying the same thing to these Edomites, man. How long wilt thou refuse to humble thyself before the Lord? Let us go, man, so we can properly serve the Lord. This is what we're saying. Matter of fact, and then the Lord, goes into it. Let's see where we want to go. We'll drop down to verse 7. It says, and Pharaoh's servant said unto him, how long shall this man be a snare unto us? Let the men go, that they may serve the Lord Yahweh their power. Knowest thou not yet that Egypt is destroyed? And we want to focus on that word destroyed. That's the word we want to focus on. Because bottom line, this is what's going to happen to America. And this is where we get the word abide. Yep.
Strong's H6, Avad.
See, they saying avad, but it's abad. Abad. Primitive root, properly to wander away. To implication, to perish. Causative, destroy. Break, destroy. Biblical outline usage. Perish, vanish, go astray, be destroyed. To destroy, kill, cause to perish. To give up, exterminate, to blot out, do away with, cause to vanish. To destroy, put to death or divine judgment, So that's where you get abide from. It's destroy. Destroy, perish, kill, exterminate, abide. Yep. So, remember that. That's something to take note of. And it's all throughout the scriptures. You could do the cross-reference, and it goes into it. H6. It'll give you a whole list of verses. Let's see. Yeah. Give you a whole list of verses. Perish. Destroy. Perished. Perish. So that's what it's going into. So we got abad. So let's go. Let's see how we want to do this, man. Let's go to the book of Genesis. Because Babal, which means confusion, which we're going to look that up, translate into Babylon, which these were actual cities. Genesis chapter 10. And you see descendants of Noah. But what this goes into, after the flood, you had Noah. It says, now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood. So you had, the population increasing, after the flood. So basically that's what it's about, and it gives you the generations all the way down. But we want to go to Genesis chapter 10 and verse 8. It says, and Cush begat Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. It says, and he was a mighty hunter before the Lord Yahweh. Wherefore it is said, wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord Yahweh. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel or Babal, and Enrich, and Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. So, this was a city established in the land of Shinar. So let's see. We'll go into it. This is where you get Babal from, and you get Babylon, both. So you see, it says Babal in the Hebrew. No E, no vowels. That E would be an A, you know. So it says confusion. Babal, Babylon, including Babylonia and the Babylonian Empire. Babal, Babylon. So confusion is likened to Babylon. This is Babylon the Great. Babal or Babylon equals confusion by mixing. Salaki, Babal or Babylon, an ancient site and or capital of Babylonia, modern Hilla, situated on the Euphrates. But the point of the matter is Babal or Babylon equals confusion. So that's where you get Abad, Babal, destroy, confusion. Exterminate confusion. Death to confusion. You know, that's basically what it is. So let's go back and get a little more meat. So let's drop down to verse 32 to get context, because you got the Tower of Babel. You know, just get a little bit more context. So this is Genesis 10 and 32. It says, these are the families of the sons of Noah after the generations of their nations. And by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood. So these were the sons of Noah, you know. Sons of Noah after the flood. Get context of what's going on. So let's go to the next chapter. Matter of fact, you see universal language, Babel, Babal, confusion. And keep in mind, this is where you get Babylon from. So we'll start at the top. Then we'll pretty much close out after this. So it says, and the whole earth was of one language and one speech, because everybody came from Noah, you know. So they spoke the same language. You know, he taught his sons taught, you know, so it was passed down. Everybody spoke the same language. And it says, and it came to pass as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain land, Salaki. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said to one another, go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, let us build us a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven. And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. So, you know, they wanted to dwell there. They didn't want to populate the earth. Let's see what the NLT say on that verse. Verse 4. It says, they said, come, let us build a great city for ourselves with a tower that reaches unto the sky. This will make us famous and keep us from being scattered all over the world. See, and that's rebellion right there. That was straight rebellion. You know, they didn't want to be scattered all over the world. But let's see. Let's go back two chapters. and see what the Lord said do. So they was rebelling right there, man. Being rebellious. Jake has always been rebellious. It's what the Lord said. This is the book of Genesis chapter 9, verse 1. It says, and God, Yahweh Shem Shai, blessed Noah and his sons, and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth. So the Lord told them to be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth, not stay in one town and not be scattered abroad. You were to replenish the whole earth. So, Jake stay going off, man. So like, yeah, Jake stay going off, man. Where we at? Genesis 10. No. We in Genesis 11. Tripping. In Genesis 11 and 4. Let's go to 5. So, they rebelled and said, let us not be scattered across the earth after the Lord told them to be fruitful and multiply. So verse 5, it says, and the Lord Yahweh came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded. Verse 6, and the Lord Yahweh said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do now, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. It says, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord Yahweh scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. So the Lord scattered them anyway, for being rebellious, man. You wanna build a tower to magnify yourself throughout the earth instead of doing what the Lord said and obeying him, man. So verse 9 is the point. Therefore is the name of it called Babal, because the Lord Yahweh did there confound the language of all the earth. And from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. So they got scattered anyway. So the Lord brought confusion upon them, man. Babal, or Babylon, confusion by mixing. So that's where you get the name or the phrase Babal. Death to confusion. And we know Babylon to be America, man. Babylon the Great. So, this was just a quick lesson through the spirit, for, brothers, sisters, whoever here, brothers sometimes say Babal. That's where it comes from. And, that's where it originates from. So, Lord willing, this was edifying. We want to constantly give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem,